I fully realize that these days making a video about yet another person hating Jon Jones is kind of redundant because over the past year his will he or won't he debacle with Tom Aspinall alienated him to the majority of the MMA fanbase. So finding somebody that dislikes him is as simple as mentioning his name to just about any random person that watches the UFC, but Daniel Cormier is a special case because he hated Jones way before it was cool, enduring years of abuse from the fans for it and never relenting even though Jon himself has desperately tried to make amends.
Yeah, I love to bury the hatchet with DC. You know, literally every time I see him, I try to give him a smile, I try to give him a handshake, and I don't think I just recently found out he doesn't like that very much.
No matter where we are, it's like always coming up to me to shake my hand. We aren't great, and I don't think that we ever have to. I think people need to stop longing for the perfect happy ending. Guys don't have to do what Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield did. It can be okay to just be okay with us being as we are.
Now DC was always able to separate the competitor from the persona, never diminishing Jon's accomplishments as a fighter and always acknowledging his greatness inside of the octagon. His dislike was a visceral reaction to Jon's personality. He didn't wait for anything to happen in order to validate it, instantly labeling him as an arrogant jackass because Jones playfully told him that he could take him down backstage at UFC 121 way back in 2010. And maybe it's a mere coincidence, but the things that Cormier said almost a decade ago make him look like Nostradamus in 2025.
Sobering truth is his history dictates and determines that the same thing is going to happen. That is his character. That is him at his core. I look at that young lady, the PR lady that's on his team now, and I see in her eyes, she knows she's fighting a losing battle. I look at his coaches. I see that these guys know that this kid will not change. He will not change. He's the same guy. He's rotten at his core, and he will continue to up.
Don't you think that people can learn from their mistakes?
Mistakes. You don't constantly make mistakes.
No?
You make mistakes, but you don't do them over and over and over and over.
No, says who?
You don't do that.
The thing that makes his hatred for Jones so interesting is how much it affected Jon himself. After all, he wasn't the first and he definitely won't be the last person to dislike him, but it really seemed to sting coming from DC. Jones has talked about putting in training sessions on Christmas Day due to how badly he wanted to beat him. It was undoubtedly extremely personal for him, and in my opinion, it was because of an underlying admiration. Under all of the drama, Jones always felt judged and insecure just being in his presence. Cormier was genuinely the morally grounded family man that Jon was projecting himself to be. He seemed to live his life with a set of values that were deep-rooted and not just performative. He didn't need to say how righteous he was, it was just his natural way of being, and he was willing to stay grounded and true to himself whether or not the fans liked it. And it wasn't always an easy task. There were several times where DC became a laughingstock because of how he chose to vocalize his views on Jones, getting booed and ridiculed despite objectively being in the right.
As I address these people in here, I say to you, guys, I've been sober. I haven't done all these things. I haven't wrecked my vehicle. I haven't been suspended. I didn't get stripped from my championship. I didn't do all those things. Guys, these are normal things that adult human beings do. You cheer this guy for saying he's not going to do these things anymore. I have done this my entire life, but you boo me. Thank you. Thank you.
Could someone bring Daniel some Kleenex, please?
Thank you. Hey, I'm not crying. I'm just sober. Guys, for the record, an hour ago, Jon called me the lamest, biggest he had ever met in his entire life. So, I mean, an hour ago, he said, you are the lamest, biggest I have ever met in my entire life. So, believe it. Believe what you want. But he's lying to you guys again. Am I the biggest you have ever met and you want me to suck your like you told me?
Oh, yeah.
Is that what you told me? Is this not real now? Are we pretending? Are we pretending again?
No, you are the biggest I've ever seen, for sure.
Okay. Are we pretending again?
The thing that really bothered Jones about DC was the fact that Cormier had an unapologetic realness to him. He knew exactly who he was and he always stayed true to it. And Jones couldn't help but admire that, looking at him as a potential mentor whose opinion meant everything. So when DC showed total indifference to who Jon was as a person, being completely unimpressed with him outside of the context of MMA and giving him none of the approval that he wanted, it played to his biggest insecurities and absolutely crushed his ego.
Many times we've heard this speech. Jon, this isn't the first time you've told us this.
No, absolutely. You know what?
This isn't the first time you've told us that, so how am I supposed to believe this guy? I don't need to actually. I actually give two if Jon Jones is in jail. I can give two. I just don't want anything life-threatening to happen to him. But anything else, I don't give a damn if Jon Jones is. I don't care what happens with him.
Jon was hoping that handing Cormier a loss in the octagon would force him into submission where he didn't have a choice but to respect him as the alpha. But unlike Jones, DC's self-worth didn't revolve around him being the best MMA fighter. So despite being visibly devastated in his 2 defeats against him, he never submitted or relented in his dislike for him. On the contrary, Jones was the one to always try and extend an olive branch, still hoping for a friendship years later. With Cormier showing what can only be described as cold and dismissive professionalism, where he was cordial but never reciprocated Jon's attempts at starting a friendship.
Well, I just wanted to say, Daniel, I'm super proud of the way life's turning out for you, man. I think it's awesome. Congratulations with everything you got going. Your students all the best as well.
And your development seems to be going great too, and that's very encouraging. So a lot of people look up to you. So make sure you continue to do that.
Yeah, I'm on it. You guys have anything to say? Thank you. It's good to talk to you with this energy instead of the way we usually are. This is refreshing. So thank you for your time, Daniel.
DC, you are more than welcome to commentate at my fight. I think you're really good at what you do. I trust that you will be non-biased. All the best, brother. Guys, just for the record, I don't really need permission to call someone's fight. But it feels nice for him to acknowledge, I think this guy could do me justice, even with everything. But I don't know why, considering I felt like I did him justice in the first fight. But ultimately, it's not about him and I anymore. It's about him and this undertaking. Him finally going up to fight at heavyweight.
Jon knows that he's almost universally hated by the MMA fanbase, with his only saving grace being the fact that he's technically undefeated, and if he loses, the floodgates of hate will instantly open up, with fans releasing years of pent-up frustration. And the older he gets, the less his identity becomes tied to being a fighter, and the less relevant his achievements become, so he's constantly facing the pressure of a looming future where he no longer has anything to offer. And the sport has moved on, with him being left in the past, rejected and hated by everyone, and for him, DC is a representation of that rejection. Somebody whose approval he has desperately wanted for over a decade but never received. A fact that he has a lot of trouble accepting, constantly going through cycles of being complimentary in hopes of developing a relationship, getting rejected, and then lashing out. And it's not surprising in the least that DC once again became a target during Jon's tense negotiations with the UFC, and Tom Aspinall taking his commentary on the situation to heart and responding with what he perceived to be a low blow.
I believe I beat Daniel Cormier at heavyweight worse than I beat him at light heavyweight. I feel like my speed has transferred over in a way that his hasn't. I think I beat him up pretty worse at heavyweight. I kick harder. I know he punched harder as a heavyweight, but I kick a lot harder. I'll see what my kicks did to him on the first fight.
With this latest attempt at baiting him, Jon ran into the same issue he always had with DC. Cormier is simply too real and secure in who he is and doesn't dwell on the past. This is why Jones has always admired him. So the transparent jab designed to get him emotional about the past was completely ineffective, but his response, which was rooted in cold hard logic and reality, was a lot more hurtful.
I'm retired. I'm done. I'm 46. I'm washed up. I'm a broadcaster. I'm a commentator. I am a talking head. How about this novel idea? Fight the dude that's actually wanting to fight. I don't want to fight Jon Jones. I have no desire to fight anyone. There could be a 25-pounder called me out to fight, and I'd be like, I don't really feel like doing that anymore. Those days are behind me. But how about fight the dude that's actually waiting to fight you? Tom Aspinall. It's not about what may have happened back then. We want to know, as the consumer, what's going to happen today. I was the heavyweight champ in 2018, 19. You're the heavyweight champ today, and there's another heavyweight champ that wants to fight. Do that.
And DC didn't gloat after Jones retired without fighting Tom Aspinall. He wasn't emotional or vindictive like so many of the fans, but simply rational and logical, which proved to be a lot more devastating because it made sense.
Do you remember when Jon Jones and I were fighting? Now, all that stuff from Counterpunch came up, where it was me telling Jon he won't change, me telling Jon all this stuff. In that video, Jon says,
I look at a 37-year-old. You're not going to get any faster than you ever been.
Don't need to be.
You're probably no stronger.
Don't need to be. That is as my opinion of you is what it is. That's your opinion of
Right.
me, and you are entitled.
I'm creeping up on my prime. You're just getting older.
Those are words.
Stung. They sting deep because you
You're
got to
like,
think
but
about it. Like,
even when I'm thinking, but so yes, they
Yeah.
did, because I'm thinking to myself, he's right. He's a kid. He's still fresh. He's young. Those words are now the exact same words that can be spoken to him on the other side. Where Tom Aspinall, if they did a counterpunch, could say, every morning when you wake up, you see a 37-year-old man that's lived a hard life and partied, that's done all these things. How can you keep up with me? And Jon thought to himself, when the words were related to him, he said, I'm out. I'm not doing it.
If you regularly watch this channel, then you know that I'm one of those rare people that still considers himself to be a fan of Jon Jones, the fighter, but in spite of that, I have to admit, DC lives in his head rent-free. He's everything that Jon always wanted to be outside of the octagon, and he always made him desperate for his approval without ever giving it to him, resulting in a dynamic where Jon constantly ruminates about why he can't get him to like him, while DC is just calmly living his life. It reminds me a lot of Conor McGregor's relationship with Khabib Nurmagomedov, where one person is utterly indifferent to the other's existence while the other hates how much they admire them and constantly tries to get their attention by lashing out. And it's interesting because you can seemingly have it all, but at the end of the day, somebody can have mind control over you by letting your insecurities do their work for them. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like the video if you liked it, and if you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell next to it. And if you want to support the channel further, become a member by hitting join if you're on Android or desktop, or the link in the description if you're on iOS.
But in the darkest moments, when his mother passed, when my father passed, he sent me a message. He really did. And even in that moment, I appreciated that. For all that we've been through, I appreciated him sending me that message as I sent the message for his mother, because we understand what family is.
Yeah. I know what I didn't know that.
Yeah, he did send me a message when my father passed and when my mother passed. He did. There's good in that dude. There really is. There's good in that dude. I just ain't really had the opportunity to see it.